All right, guys, thanks to Bruce for sending in this Orient Triton. Triton is the nickname that I guess it has adopted on most of the forums, but the actual part number for it is an RA-EL0002L, and there's a few different color options. This blue is the one I have in front of me, obviously, and it is stunning. And I have to say, I'm super impressed with this watch. So let's cover the specs real quick before we get into some thoughts on this guy. So size, you're looking at 43.2 millimeter across here, and that includes like these edges of the case have a little bit of belly to them. So it definitely doesn't wear like a 43.2, but it is, and not that 43.2 is really that big in the world of dive watches. The 50.7 millimeter lug to lug is a little bit longer than I traditionally like, but we have the bracelet style that folds all the way down, so it'll end up fitting on the wrist really good, and those turn down really nice. So not a huge complaint there at all. 14.3 millimeter thick. That's a little chunky, but again, because of the case shape and everything, it's totally doable. Then you have 22 millimeter lug width, and it tapers down to a 20 millimeter as it gets to the clasp, which is, you know, a very Seiko-esque clasp, which I'm not mad about because that's really thin compared to if you go with all milled type clasp and everything. They add a lot of bit of thickness to them. So now that those dimensions are out of the way, I want to talk about one of the first things I noticed when I put this on wrist is the weight. So I went ahead and weighed a few watches that I have. Now, granted, these are all sized for my 7 1/8, 7 1/4 inch wrist right in there. So these aren't exact weights, you know, straight out of the box and everything. So, but I guess that's really, most people don't wear the watch straight out of the box unless you're like McMahon or something, but with the 8-inch wrist. But so let's start on the low end. An SKX with, say, the Jubilee or this Uncle Seiko's razor wire bracelet is going to weigh in at around 140 grams, which is a nice, comfortable weight. Then you get into the next level would be, say, the Seiko Monster. And these weigh in at 175 grams. Definitely a little more heavy, a little more chunky. You can feel it on the wrist. It's a little more substantial. Then you jump up to the very robust Seiko Turtles. They're reissue ones. These weigh in at 180 grams, and it's, you know, an overall bigger watch. You can see it next to the Orient Triton, which I would have to say that these two probably wear closest to one another. So like if you can wear one of these, or maybe if you think the Turtles may be a touch too big, you could wear one of these Tritons, I think. They're very similar as far as how they feel on wrist. With some differences, obviously. So now we get to the Triton. The Triton's a big dog. This guy weighs 198 grams. We're pushing the scale close to 200. Very impressive if you're looking for some heft on your wrist, you know. So that's, you know, some people like that, some people don't. I do occasionally like a hefty watch on the wrist. It's nice to mix that up. So I don't know. I'm not saying I couldn't wear it every day. I definitely could, as many of us could, but you know, you feel it on the wrist, and the longer you wear something with some heft on the wrist, then it becomes natural feeling, and then you'll throw like a G-Shock on and you feel like you can defy gravity. It's pretty crazy. But so the bezel action, again, very Seiko-like. You can hear that. It's nice, audible, and it has that 120 click, but it's like every other click is like a click, clack, you know what I mean? So very nice, smooth action. The bezel grip around here is very good, and it lines up perfect, and a little bit of back play. Love the indices, the hands, the dials, all of that. You can see, let's do a little bit of close-up so you guys can really appreciate it. And you know, the big thing that everyone is going to notice on this is that power reserve indicator. So I think Orient did an amazing job developing this watch. You have a signed crown. It's more of like an emboss. It's not like engraved on there or anything. Excuse all the fingerprints, but you guys get the point. Really nice case back. It's deep engraved in there, but it's smooth edges, so you do not feel that on your wrist. It does not dig in like I've had on some other watches. And Bruce did a nice review on this too, so like he's got some way better shots of this than what I'm going to be able to capture. But you guys get the point here. You have a sapphire crystal with anti-reflective coating on the underside. And then you have that aluminum bezel insert, which I prefer on most watches. The crown action and threading is done very good. You have a nice strong pop. I don't know if you guys caught that. It has a nice strong pop when you get to the end of the threads there. And then you can wind it, which the winding action is a little gritty, and you do have a little bit of crown play there. But it's fun to watch it. When you wind it, you can actually see the power reserve indicator go up. Second position, you know, you can do the date change. Third position, you have the hack, and then you can adjust the time, which is very smooth. This is a movement that Orient is doing in-house, I'm guessing, like everything else they do. I think they call it the Caliber 40N5A. I could be mistaken on that. But there's tons of information already on the internet on this. I threw this on the time grapher. I'll put a little clip somewhere in the video. I didn't include like any audio of me talking or anything like that, so it'll just be a quick little clip on there. It's running a little fast. It acted a little weird on the time grapher, but it is running a little fast, and that's dial up, and that's fine. That's totally good. That's where most of us prefer them. So let's check out the loom. Again, I think the loom is done really nice on this. This was just with the studio lights. Let's bring up the orange monster so you can get a comparison there. There is no complaints in the loom department. They even loomed the power indicator hand. Everything looks good. So now, price. I'm going to have to agree with Bruce. He purchased this watch from Creation Watches. Unfortunately, they're sold out on this particular model. I didn't look to see because there's two other versions, or at least two other versions. There's like a black one, and then there's one with like a gold bezel. Their price is $317, but they are sold out, unfortunately. So if you look around, you scour around, you look on eBay, you're going to find them around $400 or $500. So I don't know if it's just a supply and demand type issue that's happening right now. Hopefully some more U.S. vendors will end up getting these trickled in. You know, maybe like a Long Island watch. That would be great if Mark ends up getting this particular model, which hopefully he will, because he does have the other Orient models. So it's a matter of just time, I think, for him to bring these in. He's probably going to be maybe a little bit more than Creation Watches, but it's still like you're going to have that support and the comfort of buying from a reputable retailer. So I'll give you a shot on my 7 1/8 inch wrist. That's sized a little bit too big for me. I don't want to resize it because it is a pin and collar, and I'm just going to be sending it back to Bruce. But you know, you could throw this on a mesh or NATO or Perlon or whatever you want, because that'll be really easy. You have those drilled lugs there, so. But you can see how it fits on the wrist. That K shape is really nice. Like I'm glad to see Orient adopt that in a more entry-level type watch, where it has the smoother texture similar to like an SKX, but then you have the turn-down lugs and everything. I think it's a home run in design and execution. I really do, and a excellent option in the value department for these guys, because you know, if you can get this anywhere from $300 to $500 with everything that it comes with, I kind of dare you to try to point me in a direction where, you know, this has a competitor, because it kind of really doesn't. So like, if this size and look appeals to you, I say pick one up. I'll see you on the next video.